I think some very important cultural remedies to address where climate change is coming from is to look at our assumptions, to look at the stated and unstated assumptions that are all around us. In the introduction of my book, I talk about the idea that often we're like fish in water. Fish, because the water is all around them, there's many stories in Western culture and in Asian culture about how fish can't see the water because it's all around them. It's just part of their habitat. And I think it's important that we do the same thing, because I think, as we all are in all cultures, we're swimming in a sea of assumptions. Assumptions are all around us. And because they're all around us and they're ubiquitous in our lives, we often don't see them and we often don't discuss them. So I think an essential remedy to address where climate change is coming from is to look at the assumptions of our lives, to look at the assumptions in our culture, to look at the assumptions in our cultural institutions. So as I see it, not surprisingly, many of the assumptions, most of the assumptions in our culture emphasize yang over yin. Emphasize doing over not doing, emphasize expansion over contraction, emphasize consumption over contentment, emphasize looking outside of us for what we need rather than looking inside of us for what we need. All of that is yang over yin. Yang is doing, yin is not doing. Yang is consumption, yin is contentment. Yang is looking outside of ourselves, yin is looking inside of ourselves. Yang is expansion and yin is contraction. So our culture, literally, without exaggeration, is based on yang to the detriment of yin. And one clear example of that is our economy. We're taught to believe, we're encouraged to believe, that our economy is healthy when it's expanding, potentially forever. Now, there's nothing inherently bad about economic growth, but we are led to believe that the economy can only be healthy when it is continuously expanding. That's impossible. Nothing can expand forever. Nothing can grow forever. Yang is day, yin is night. Yang is summer, yin is winter. What we're encouraged to believe economically is we want a sunny, hot summer day, all day, every day. That's not going to happen. You don't have to be a climatologist. You don't have to be a Chinese medicine practitioner. You don't have to have a PhD in economics to understand that one thing leads to the next thing. Summer leads to winter. Day leads to night. We're encouraged to believe that one side of the yin-yang circle, the white side, the bright side, is what we want. And it's just not possible. And when we overemphasize something like that, it is inevitably pathological. There's no way to avoid pathology when we want one thing all the time. Health, by definition, individual health, cultural health, ecological health, comes from a movement. Comes from day becoming night, night becoming day, summer becoming winter, winter becoming summer. That's a basic fundamental understanding, and it's not that complicated in many ways. I mean, of course day becomes night, and of course night becomes day. But we're led to believe that day is better than night, expansion is better than contraction, doing is not better, doing is better than not doing. And what I think climate change is trying to offer us is the encouragement to examine those root assumptions, because they're just not working. They're not working culturally, they're not working personally, and they're certainly not working ecologically. So I believe that looking at the assumptions of our culture allows us to understand what we're emphasizing and what we're de-emphasizing. And when we can address that, not only can we change our cultural institutions based on a more balanced understanding of things, but we can also balance our own lives. And with a more balanced life individually, a more balanced culture, we can then translate that into addressing the underlying causes of climate change.